Hey everyone, I'm Allison.
And I'm Bryce.
And we're Better Half Reviews. And today we are talking about Tidal Blades, Heroes of the Reef, Part 1. This is the deluxe edition. It's designed by Tim and Ben Eisner. The art is by Mr. Cuddington. It's published by Druid City Games and Skybound Games.
The land of Naviri is being attacked by monsters that are coming out of the fold, and they need a new champion to save them. So you're competing in a 4-day tournament to see who's the champion who can save the people.
Alright, so let's take a look. Alright, so this is the setup of Tidal Blades. At the beginning of the game, you need to choose one of the 4 characters, and we decided on Cayman. So let's take a moment and look at the board. So you have 4 different dials, and they shift around. They all have different abilities. So the focus is what lets you roll different amount of dice. So the more you increase it, the more dice you'll be able to roll when you're doing challenges or fighting monsters. Spirit, when you increase this, it allows you to get some different bonuses if you have stunt cards or maybe some other abilities. Synergy, when you increase this, it shows a little card symbol. It lets you gain one of your attribute cards that gives you an extra power for the rest of the game. And then finally, there's resilience. And this is what lets you refresh dice after you've used them all at the end of the round and even upgrade them. So as you increase this, there are more dice that you can refresh and upgrade. And if you'll notice up here, there's these different little symbols around the outside. If you upgrade something far enough, these are victory points that you get at the end of the game. And then right here is where you can put your active die. As soon as you've used them in a challenge, they are spent and go to this side. So at the end of the round, depending on your resilience, you can refresh and then upgrade a die. So when you're starting the game, you get 2 novice dice, 2 fruit, 2 shells, and then you get 2 shells on top of your shield, which I'll explain in just a little bit. And then you have your character, and these tokens underneath represent how many actions you have for that round. Each player has a secret objective, so you'll shuffle it up and pick one, and this just gives you goals to go for and points to score at the end of the game if you reach those objectives. Each character gets their own set of cards that they can gain throughout the game, and it just gives them different special abilities and advantages. Every character has a little info card talking about their backstory and things that they are good to focus on in this game, strategies. And you get to have 1 starting card, which gives you an extra ability for the game. And finally, everybody gets 3 starting challenge cards, and those are specific to you. So those are challenges that typically go for your character's strengths. So you play Tidal Blades over 4 rounds, and you have a little round marker to keep track. So what you're going to do is take out your character, and you're going to place him on one of the spots available on one of these boards. So whatever spot you pick, he gets those rewards, and each board has a special ability that you can utilize. So here in the Droska ring, if he went here, he would get 2 shells, and then the bonus is either he can choose to gain a fruit or buy a card from the market. So we have the market over here. Different cards cost different amounts, so usually you use fruit in order to gain some different spoils, where you can gain some shells, you could even gain some dice, or it can increase one of your attributes on your player board. And lastly, if you have a challenge card that matches this symbol, which I do, you can fight in a challenge. So the way that challenges work is you need to roll the dice and match the symbols that have the closed circle. Anything with a dotted circle is an optional thing. It's called push it. So I'm just going to go for the 1 symbol if possible. My focus is only 1, so I can only roll 1 die. But if I spend a fruit, I can roll an extra die. So I'm going to do that. But when you're fighting in a challenge, you also need to use the battle die. So you use this battle die, and it's going to create some difficulty for you. Well, we'll see what happens. So I got a blank die, and then I did get my focus symbol, which is good. But then I got 1x. So I need to spend one of my shells in order to avoid losing a die. If I want to, I could choose to push it and roll again. You can roll as many times as you like, but if you run out of shells, that's a bad thing, but hey, let's go for it. Okay, I didn't get it. So I got an X, have to spend another shell. I got a blank for the battle die, which is good, and then I rolled a question mark, which is a wild, so I can use that and gain the spoils. So I completed this challenge and I pushed it, so I get to move up the proper symbols on my board. So these are both focus. I can increase my focus by 2. These dice are now spent, and this challenge card is complete, and you're going to put it underneath your board in the matching symbol, so right here. Most challenges will give you victory points at the end of the game, and these symbols will also help you when you're battling monsters. So just a quick lowdown on some of the other boards. This is Lamara Stadium. If you go to one of these places, you'll gain the spoils. This is the first player marker, so you can gain that for the next round. And this stadium has this little speedboat. So if you go here, you'll move the speedboat once and you gain whatever bonus that is. So there's stunt cards, shells, even victory points on the champion board, and so on. So if I come here, gain those spoils, move the boat, and I gain that as well. And if I want to, I can choose to do a challenge if I have a matching card and enough dice. The other arena board is the Chronoseum. So this has the option to gain dice, which is really nice and helpful because that's an easy way to get it rather than having to upgrade it. And when you visit here, you can also draw a stunt card. So stunt cards usually deal with the spirit attribute, so you can gain different spoils depending on your level of spirit. Upgrade dice, gain spoils, go up on the champion board. You can hold on to this for as long as you want. You can only use one once per turn. This other board is the Citadel of Time. For all of these other spaces, it's just been a closed circle. But up here we have this dotted circle. That means that more than one person can visit that spot. Over here you have individual spots that you will go to. And the bonus for this board is being able to draw challenge cards. You can draw 2 challenge cards, either from the top of the deck or what you can see available. So the challenge cards just have different types of focus that you can try to do to upgrade your board. And they also have different victory points. Some of them are easier, some of them are harder. So here we have this character. He is the judge. He will be moving around from the different boards round to round. If he is on a board where you are and you decide to do a challenge and you complete it, you'll actually go up 1 spot on the champion board. So up here you have the fold, and this is where you can battle monsters. So you see that it's a dotted circle. Anyone can visit there. There can be multiple people there as well. You pick a spot where there's a monster, and what you're going to try to do is roll different dice and battle it out and try to take hits on the monster. So when you're battling a monster, you're going to be using your dice and trying to get these different symbols. And when you come to battle a monster, you get a temporary die, and sometimes you can get an increased die depending on the cards that you have on your board. So you'll notice this has just the general symbols, the spirit and resilience, and this one has a square symbol. You actually have to use a red die and get spirit. So for this monster, let's say I'm going to try to go for this, and I'll use 3 dice, but my focus is only at 2, so I do need to spend a fruit, and now I can roll 3 dice. But I also need to use the battle die. Alright, so let's say I got this. I got the spirit, which is what I needed. And this is a wild, so I will put it here. And I also got an X, so I need to use one of my shells. One of the nice things about your shells is you can actually use them to change your die. So if I spend 4 shells, I can set a die to any space I want. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll spend those, and now I get all 3 of those hits. So what I'm going to do is you have your little hit tokens. You'll put them on top of each space. As soon as a monster's hit spaces are completely filled, they are killed, and you can get a reward bonus. The downside of battling monsters is your dice are not just put in the spent pile, they are discarded. After everyone has taken their turns for that round, you're going to move this over to the next round marker. Everybody gets an extra disc, so you'll have 3 actions that turn. Now you need to do a monster check. So I'm going to roll this die, and depending on what I get, a monster may or may not attack. I rolled a 1. There's no monster here, 1 through 5, so there's no attack. However, if I did roll a 6 through 8, the thunder eels would attack. Anyone who does not have a hit symbol on here would suffer the consequences. There's different negative effects depending on the monster. So then I will move him down and reveal another monster. So if you get to the point where a monster wasn't killed and I need to flip out another one, and this monster flees, and everyone who doesn't have a hit point on the monster will move -1 on the champion board. Whoever is in lead in the champion board also gets to place out one of their little hit points right up here, and that means that they'll get an extra point at the end of the game. So one other thing you're going to do at the end of the round is refresh your die. So you check your resilience disc, and I'm at 2, so I can refresh and upgrade up to 2 die. So I'm going to refresh both my dice, and then I can choose to upgrade them. So upgrading them will give you different symbols and options. Everybody gets a little player aid, and it gives you a little guide about upgrading your dice. So depending on what skills you want to go for, will change what color of die you want to go for. So I'll vary it, and I'll get a red and a blue. So you trade these in to get other dice. So these dice will have less variety in symbols, but they are stronger towards certain attributes. So this one has focus and spirit, this one has resilience and synergy. And then the judge will move to the next board, and you start a new round. Just say that we happen to kill the monster. All of these hit points will go up here, and those will be points at the end of the game. And there's also a kill bonus on the bottom of every card. And typically a kill bonus also includes moving up on the champion board. And monsters also have a reward bonus, so this one would say draw a challenge card and gain a novice dice. So anyone who has hit points on the monster card when it is killed would gain that reward. And then it is discarded. So when you get to the end of 4 rounds, you're going to count up all the points from your discs cards, goal cards, and champion boards, and whoever has the most points will be the champion of Naviri. There is also a 2-player variant. They have a little cheat sheet for it, and on the back of it is the solo mode. All right, so that's how you play the game. Let's talk about how we feel about it. Bryce, what are some of the pros?
So I really like the backstory of the game and the theme. You're going around to these different arenas, and you're fighting monsters, and the monsters are attacking. I think it all just plays really well, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And they even went above and beyond and gave everybody that little card that has the backstory on it and like talks about your specialties. So it's like every little thing you could think of that they could give you, they gave it to you. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And along with that, I think the artwork was really nice as well. Yes. And it does help you get immersed in that theme.
Definitely. I love the art for this. Everything looks fantastic, and like all the different cards, the different boards, and you're like, ooh, I want to go over here because that looks really pretty. And then you're like, oh wait, yeah, strategy. I forget about that too. But yes, it is very beautiful. So Mr. Cuddington did a great job. Something else I like along with that is the components, or at least for the deluxe copy, we have those little orange fruits and the shells, and it's just very tactile with the discs and the minis and everything. Like, it's just so cool, like, to look at everything, to touch everything, and to roll the dice into that little arena. It's just everything's aesthetically pleasing.
I will say, though, if the size of the box is kind of a deterrent for you, they do have the non-deluxe edition, which doesn't have as nice of a components, but it is a lot smaller box. Yeah. So it just kind of depends there on what you want and what you like.
Mm-hmm. Something else that I really like about this game is there's so many different avenues of strategy, because you have those 4 different discs for your character, and so depending on what you go for, you'll move those up, and depending on the character you pick, they have their own deck of cards that have different abilities. There's all those challenge cards. Like, there's so many different variables that your game can be completely different, and there's so many different ways that you can try to play the game. And I know that there's strategies Bryce has tried that I still haven't tried yet, and so there's just a lot of replayability in this one.
Yeah, I agree. It's really interesting. Like, even though your character has like specialties, like your character might be really good at spirit and resilience. Sorry. You don't have to play to those. If you're getting cards that don't kind of match those, you can play to other strategies. So even though your player might have, that specialty deck card that might play to some of those, it's not required that you play those.
Mm-hmm. And then there's those monsters that you never know when you roll the die if you're going to, it's like, oh shoot, I haven't gone and fought that monster yet, and then it's going to come and attack you. That's usually me. But yeah, so there's that aspect of you don't know, and there are the dice that you're rolling, so there is a little bit of luck to it, but I like that the dice you pick, and as you upgrade them, you're shooting for what you want, and you kind of have a way to like mitigate it a little bit with some of those shells. But it's just very interesting to having that upgrade track for your dice, where you can go for the red or the blue, and the symbols are different for all the different dice.
Well, and then not only having that upgrade track, but if you go and fight monsters, you're going to lose those dice.
Yes.
So you're like, do I want to spend my upgraded dice, which will help me kill this monster really easily? Or do I want to use some of my lower dice, which will probably make me roll more? Mm-hmm. So you're like, oh, what is the best in that situation?
Yep. Yeah, Bryce likes to go for the monsters, and I like to go for the challenges. And you want to know who usually wins?
I've gotten really lucky sometimes, though. One of the times I went for the monsters, I had an ability card that let me keep my dice afterwards.
He had like the perfect string of combos, and I was just like, oh, look, a battle. But, you know, there can sometimes be runaway winners in this game, but it's just like the stars aligned for some of the games that Bryce had. And so that's not every game. So let's kind of shift into the negatives. What's a negative about Tidal Blades?
Hold this, and then I'll take this one and we'll open it up. I mean, the rulebook is laid out decently nice. Like when you're reading through it the first time, yes, there's a lot of stuff to go through, but there's lots of examples, and it's very helpful.
Yes.
But if you need to look something up in the middle of a game, you're like, oh, it's in the rulebook. Oh, wait, no, it's in the almanac. Oh, wait, now I have this huge thing on the table that's already being taken up by the huge game.
Don't knock the pieces.
Yeah, and so it's, these rulebooks, while nice, again, they're laid out nicely, they have good examples.
They're huge.
And it's sometimes confusing where you need to look something up.
Yeah. Like there is the, nope, see, that's the wrong one. There is the there's the quick reference guide, which is helpful, but if you're looking for something that's specific and not on here, then it takes a bit of time to like find it. I know the first time that we were setting this up, I had everything everywhere, and I was trying to have room for the rule book while I'm setting things up, and I'm like, it took me forever.
We had to bring out 2 tables. We brought out our little card table and then our kitchen table to be able to like set it up the first game.
But anyway, it is a beautiful rule book, and it's done very well, and it has like amazing examples and different options of game variability that you can try, which is really awesome. It's just huge. I kind of wish it was just like, you know, the skinnier size, but that's okay. Tidal Blades, it was like go big or go home, right? So then one of my other negatives is I really wish that they had just done a fold out game board. I mean, I love how it looks, and I love how artistic it is with like, you know, how it's kind of like all wavy and everything kind of like matches up together. It looks really cool, but it's just more prone to getting dinged and dented. One of our pieces came a little bit mashed in the insert, and I don't want it to get ruined anymore. And I feel like the setup would be faster and easier if it was just a fold out rectangular board. But I know you don't get like that cool, like aesthetically pleasing look to it, but that's one of my drawbacks.
I can see that being a drawback. Like, I can see how a board would be better, but then again, with them being modular boards, you can kind of move them around to shape your table that you're playing on.
I guess so.
Because it does take a lot of room. But I don't know. I can see pros and cons to both of those.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that would be a negative for me is the box size. I really wish it was, more like Gloomhaven, where it's like taller and like skinnier. It's a honking huge thing. and so it's like skinny and really long. And so it's a little bit more of an awkward box. And I feel like it's more prone to damage compared to something that's a little bit more square.
And not just that, there is the inserts, the organizers on the inside. Some of them for ours, it's hard to put the board pieces in. You kind of already mentioned it, where it kind of mashed the corner of one of the boards. And it isn't always very intuitive how do you fit all the boards back into the game box.
It's a game within itself, putting it away.
It's like Tetris for putting a game away.
But I mean, there are the game trays, which are really cool for the dice and keeping those all like separated and everything, and your other little like fruits components and your minis and discs. Like that's really cool. I really like that. But yeah, I wish like the putting away of the boards was a little bit better, like more roomy. I don't know. Okay, so those are the pros and cons. Let's talk about really what we think about this game. I love this game. There's pros, there are cons that we mentioned, but no matter what, I enjoy this. It is fun to play. It's a challenge. Most of the time I lose, but I still like it, so that says something. I just love the look of it. I love the feel of it. And I love all those different options of strategies and those dice and upgrading those and like going for all the different avenues. It's just so fun. And rolling them in the stadium, I always have to roll it in the stadium.
So I think that the upgraded deluxe version is worth it, in my opinion. The tactileness, whatever the word is, of the fruit and the minis and the shells, it's just great in my opinion. I love the world that they've built through the artwork in the game, through kind of the backstory, and I love that it has a lot of different strategies, a lot of different ways to win, and every game, like Allison said, just feels different. You can play different characters. You're not always going to get the same cards for those characters. You get different challenges. Every game just is new.
You mentioned the world. We didn't bring this out earlier. Watch your head. But the deluxe version comes with this really cool art/storybook, and it just dives down into the world even more, and it get like pictures and everything, and it's pretty cool. I haven't read all of it yet, but it just, they thought of everything with this game, and I love that they went above and beyond, and it really shows in the table presence and the story and how everything works out. So I really love Tidal Blades. I'm really looking forward to whatever part 2 may be, whenever that may happen, or anything else involving Tidal Blades, I'm there.
So even though I do recommend the deluxe version, if you don't care as much about the upgraded pieces, or you don't want everything about the backstory, you want just a really good, solid game, I do like that they have that non-deluxe version. It does make it more accessible. It's a better price point and everything like that. So I think they hit it out of the park in that respect as well. They have, the hardcore gamers that want everything and want the best stuff. They have the deluxe edition, or they have the non-deluxe edition for people that, might not be super into the hobby or might not care about those upgraded pieces.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have the really cool minis, and it would look so much better if they were painted. I am just too nervous to paint them, so we just have gray blobs right now. So, again, anybody want to paint our minis for us? No, just kidding. I'll do it sometime, maybe. But yeah, so we really like Tidal Blades. I think it's a fantastic game. I think it shines better with 3 players rather than 2. We've done mostly 2 just because of, life. So there is a little bit of a different variant there. I feel like I'd like it better at 3 or 4 players. But yeah, so Tidal Blades, you guys should definitely check it out. It's coming to retail probably around the time that this video is launching.
So if you want to follow more of our board gaming adventures, be sure to subscribe and like this video. And follow us on Instagram. We post more about our day-to-day gaming there. So there's a lot of great content there as well.
Yep, check it out. All right, so this is our thoughts about Tidal Blades. I am Allison.
And I'm Bryce.
And we're Better Half Reviews. Happy gaming.
Have fun.
Yeah!